Perhaps the most ignored reason a period is late is that the cycle you expect may never have been as regular as you believed. Many women grow up thinking a normal cycle is exactly 28 days. In reality, healthy cycles range from roughly 21 to 35 days, and even within that range, variability of a few days is physiologically normal. A cycle that stretches because ovulation occurred later than usual isn't broken, it's responsive. Environmental exposures also play a role. Endocrine disrupting chemicals found in plastics, pesticides, cosmetics, and household products can mimic or block estrogen and progesterone signaling. These compounds don't need to cause immediate symptoms to have effects. They accumulate, they interfere subtly. Over time, they can alter cycle timing, ovulation consistency, and hormone metabolism. The effect isn't dramatic, it's cumulative. Gut health is another silent partner. Estrogen is metabolized and excreted through the liver and gut. An imbalance in gut bacteria can alter how estrogen is recycled in the body, changing circulating levels. When estrogen clearance shifts, the feedback loop that triggers ovulation can misfire. A late period may be less about the ovaries and more about what happens after hormones have done their job. Excessive exercise, particularly endurance training without adequate recovery, can delay periods even in women who appear healthy. This isn't about fitness, it's about energy availability. When training load exceeds nutritional intake and rest, the brain senses scarcity. Ovulation becomes optional. Menstruation waits. Sometimes the cause is simply that ovulation didn't happen at all that cycle. An anovulatory cycle can still produce a bleed eventually, but it often arrives late and looks different, lighter, heavier, or more erratic. One anovulatory cycle does not mean infertility. It means the system skipped a beat. What makes late periods so emotionally charged is what they symbolize. Pregnancy scares, loss of control, fear that something fundamental is failing. But more often than not, a late period is communication. The body saying something changed, something shifted, something required adaptation. The menstrual cycle is not a test of discipline or femininity. It is a feedback system that integrates brain, hormones, metabolism, immune function, and environment. When it pauses, it's not ignoring you, it's responding to you. Understanding that doesn't erase anxiety, but it reframes it. A late period is not always a warning. Sometimes it's a recalibration. Sometimes it's the body protecting itself, and sometimes it's simply proof that the system is alive, responsive, and paying attention, even when we aren't taught how to listen. Another reason periods arrive late, often masked by normal lab results, is insulin resistance. When cells stop responding efficiently to insulin, the pancreas compensates by producing more. Elevated insulin alters ovarian function, increasing androgen production and interfering with ovulation. This delay doesn't always come with obvious signs. You may not have a diagnosis. Your blood sugar may look normal, but the ovary feels the signal. Ovulation hesitates. The cycle stretches. Closely related is polycystic ovary syndrome, though many women don't realize they have it until cycles become unpredictable. PCOS isn't defined solely by cysts or missed periods. It's a hormonal pattern involving disrupted ovulation, elevated androgens, and metabolic signaling errors. Some women ovulate irregularly rather than not at all, leading to cycles that arrive late, early, or not at all. The unpredictability is not chaos, it's physiology struggling to synchronize. Inflammation is another underestimated disruptor. Chronic, low-grade inflammation, whether from autoimmune conditions, gut dysbiosis, untreated infections, or metabolic stress, can interfere with hormone receptors and ovarian signaling. Inflammation alters how estrogen and progesterone are metabolized and cleared. The result isn't always pain or obvious illness. Sometimes it's just a period that doesn't arrive on time. Medications beyond birth control can also interfere. Antidepressants, antipsychotics, corticosteroids, chemotherapy agents, and even some herbal supplements can alter prolactin, cortisol, or liver metabolism of hormones. Prolactin, in particular, can suppress ovulation when elevated. A medication taken for mood, inflammation, or sleep may be quietly reshaping the cycle. Travel across time zones is another subtle force. Crossing multiple time zones disrupts circadian rhythm, cortisol patterns, and melatonin release. These shifts can delay ovulation if they occur near the follicular phase. The cycle doesn't operate independently of time. It is synchronized to light, darkness, and routine. Disrupt those, and timing slips. Age matters too, but not only in the way women are warned about. In the years before perimenopause, cycles can lengthen before they shorten. Ovulation may become less consistent as ovarian reserve changes. A late period in the late 30s or early 40s is not automatically a crisis, but it is a signal of transition. The reproductive system doesn't fail abruptly, it gradually renegotiates. Even intense emotional experiences, grief, shock, sudden change, can delay menstruation. The limbic system, which processes emotion, communicates directly with the hypothalamus. When emotional load spikes, reproductive signals can pause. This isn't imagined, it's neurological. What ties all of these together is that menstruation is not an isolated event. It is the final chapter of a cycle that depends on successful ovulation. When ovulation is delayed, everything else waits. The bleed is not late because something is wrong, it's late because something upstream asked it to be. The calendar insists you're late. The test is negative. The familiar rhythm your body once kept has gone quiet, and suddenly every sensation feels louder. A late period is often treated like a moral failure or a mystery with only one acceptable answer: stress, pregnancy, or just hormones. But the menstrual cycle is not a simple clock. It is a living system, constantly negotiating with your brain, your metabolism, your environment. When it pauses, it's usually responding to something real. One of the most powerful and most ignored reasons a period arrives late is stress. Not the fleeting kind, but sustained psychological or physiological stress that activates the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Cortisol, the primary stress hormone, doesn't just help you survive danger, it competes directly with reproductive hormones. When cortisol stays elevated, the brain deprioritizes ovulation. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes sense. A body that perceives threat does not invest energy in reproduction. Ovulation delays. Progesterone never rises. The period waits. Another overlooked factor is sudden weight change in either direction. Fat tissue is hormonally active. It produces estrogen. Rapid weight loss can reduce circulating estrogen below the threshold needed to trigger ovulation. Rapid weight gain can increase estrogen in ways that disrupt the delicate timing of the cycle. This isn't about aesthetics or discipline, it's about signaling. When the body senses instability in energy availability, it adjusts reproductive output accordingly. Closely tied to this is underfueling. You don't need to have an eating disorder to eat less than your body requires. Chronic calorie deficits, excessive exercise without recovery, or diets that eliminate entire macronutrients can suppress gonadotropin-releasing hormone in the brain. The signal to ovulate weakens. Periods drift. Sometimes they disappear entirely. The body is not being dramatic, it is conserving. Thyroid function is another quiet puppeteer. The thyroid gland regulates metabolic rate, temperature, heart rhythm, and menstrual timing. Hypothyroidism can delay ovulation and lengthen cycles. Hyperthyroidism can do the opposite, shortening or skipping them. Many women live with subtle thyroid dysfunction for years, attributing fatigue, cold intolerance, or anxiety to personality or lifestyle, never realizing their cycle has been adjusting in the background. Then there's illness. Even a short-term infection or inflammatory response can delay a cycle. The immune system and reproductive system share resources. Cytokines released during illness can interfere with ovulation. A period that shows up days or weeks late may simply be arriving after your body finished fighting something you barely registered. Sleep, too, matters more than most women are told. Melatonin doesn't just regulate circadian rhythm, it interacts with reproductive hormones. Chronic sleep deprivation, night shift work, or frequent jet lag can disrupt the timing signals that coordinate ovulation. When light exposure replaces darkness and rest becomes fragmented, the cycle loses its anchor. And sometimes the cause is birth control, long after you stop taking it. Hormonal contraceptives suppress ovulation by design. For many women, the brain-ovary communication resumes quickly. For others, it takes months. Post-pill amenorrhea isn't a myth, it's a recovery phase. The system is recalibrating after years of external hormone control. A late period is rarely random. It is the body responding to conditions, recalculating priorities, waiting for the signal that it's safe to proceed.